This is Dan and Lexi from Dan Schultz Outdoors, reminding you to keep the adventures alive. Hey y'all, I'm Johnny.
And I'm Colleen. And we're the Keel Quest. And we want you to keep the adventures alive. Cheers!
Hey, this is Darren from Ride Paddle Repeat, encouraging you to keep the adventures alive.
This is David from Beasley Ironworks saying keep the adventures alive.
I'm Jay. Let's go. From Jay's Way, keep the adventures alive.
Hi, I'm Kevin Collin, the Happy Camper. Remember, keep the adventures alive. Awesome!
Woo, buddy! Shug here! Keep the adventures alive. I am.
Ethan here, the Avid Outdoorsy Guy, reminding you to keep the adventures alive.
We're John and Aaron.
Keep the adventures alive.
Hey everyone, it's Kylan from Lure of the North, and I encourage you to keep the adventures alive.
This is Sky North telling you, keep the adventures alive. And now on with the show.
Tonight's episode of CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show is brought to you by OTG Meals. Fresh, freeze-dried, small-batch meals made for people on the go. Algonquin Outfitters, with 4 key locations in and around Algonquin Park to serve your backcountry needs. Kid Products, stick stoves and reflector ovens proudly made in Canada. And Novacraft Canoes, connecting you with nature in Canadian-made canoes since 1970. Hey, well, Happy New Year's, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of CANOEHOUND'S Outdoor Adventure Show. My name is still Dennis, also known as CANOEHOUND, and if this is your first time joining us here, well, welcome. Thank you very much for tuning in. You know what, to all my returning viewers, you know what, thank you very much for coming back. I hope everybody had a great, happy, healthy, and safe holiday season. You know what? It was a good time here for us. A lot of family time that was spent together, and that's always a blessing in itself, just spending time with family and friends, of course. You know what? I did a little impromptu New Year's Eve live stream there. Had many of you pop in to say hello. It was kind of cool. I was kind of low key over the holidays, just a good time to unwind. But like I say, I really spent a lot of time with the family, and that was my main focus for the holiday season. You know what? We got a great 2023 that's shaping up for you. I got a few great shows lined up for the future here. Going in all the way up March and into April. So, you know, we got a lot of good stuff coming up, but you know what? We got a great topic tonight for those of you that are hammock hangers or maybe have thought about doing a little bit of camping and using a hammock as your sleep system. You're going to learn a lot tonight, and you're going to get to meet a couple of really cool guys as we talk about the Hammock Camping Society out there. But before we get to that, I do have some announcements. Didn't have a show last week, so obviously we got a few things to catch up on. First and foremost, to those of you who tuned into our Christmas special, our 2022 Christmas special, it was a really fun evening. We had a lot of people pop into the show there, popping in to say hello. It was kind of a festive show, and we shared a lot, and it was a really good evening. But we did do a swag giveaway thanks to the generosity of my show sponsors, a couple of anonymous donors. And we did do some prize giveaways, and we had so many of you actually sent your entries in for the draw. And part of the thing was I just wanted to know shows that you really enjoyed in the past from our library. This is like 118th episode, I think, so we've got quite a few behind us. But I also wanted to know what you all wanted to see in the future. And you really helped set me in a direction that I could, one, find some new stuff, and it helped to confirm the type of things that you want to see. So thank you very much to everybody who input there. And I'd just like to announce who some of the winners. There were 6 winners. We did 6 prizes. They were all mixed up, all different things. And to each of you that have won a prize, they are on their way to you now. They hit Canada Post there yesterday, and they will be to you. So when you get your packages, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. First, we got Josh Vashon, Chris Shell, Jody Robbins, Matt Hahn, Dan Spadafora, and Zachary Cameron. Congratulations to all of you who won. And once again, thanks to everybody who input. When we do swag giveaways, please do enter. You know what? You can't win if you don't have a ticket, so they say, right? So make sure you get yourself entered to any giveaways that we might have here or in the future. As we set forth here into the second half of season 4, we're gearing up for a lot of great shows and topics. And I have a lot of adventures coming up too, so we might be missing a couple shows in the near future. I sat down with a couple of my buddies, and January, February, and March are. I got a few nice little adventures I'm going to be taking, some winter camping and things of that sort, and then there's a lot of shows coming up. So over the next couple of weeks, I'll be announcing a lot of shows that are coming up in the area or in Southern Ontario and the surrounding states. Because there are a lot of things happening in the springtime. We'll call it the springtime, but February and March. Let's see here. There's a number of trade shows and gatherings. Here's a few that I've compiled for you now. February 24th to 26th is the Outdoor Adventure Show in Toronto. I will be at that show, and I believe I will be a presenter or doing a presentation out there. So it'd be cool to see a lot of you come on out and take in the presentation. It's not going to be the same as it was last year. It'll be something a little bit different. So I hope to see a lot of you there. Last year was a good time getting to meet a lot of you. March 4th is the Quiet Adventure Symposium coming up in Lansing, Michigan. March 12th. March is a busy month for shows. March 10th to 12th is CANOEHOUND'S in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm hoping to make my way down there. March 16th to the 19th is the Toronto Sportsman Show. And then David Bain is once again running the Ontario Canoe Symposium, which is on March 25th in Waterloo. So you'll want to make sure you get tickets for that now, because that generally sells out. He's got a new venue, which holds a few more people, but it generally sells out. So do your online search for the Ontario Canoe Symposium and make sure you get your tickets. They're around $20 a seat. And there's some great presenters that are going to be at that. We'll get David on the show one day to talk about it and just give everybody a little bit of insight on that. Just wanted to say thanks to those of you who bought coffee for Canoe Hound over the last week here. Thanks to Pete Dinsmore. I appreciate your support. I do have a Canoe Hound coffee going right now. Let's take a dip. Cheers to you, Pete. Let's see here. And I don't know if any of you are noticing. Does anybody notice that my picture is a little bit clearer? It's because I finally got my new live streaming camera. This thing, if I put both cameras on at the same time, I should do a screenshot for next week, but the difference is like night and day. You can actually read my logo up here. you get to see this ugly mug a little clearer. And this is going to be a good thing. So there were many of you who were generous enough to help support me getting this, and that is greatly appreciated. Not a cheap camera, and but it's a good camera. So hopefully this one won't burn out like my last one did so quickly. But let's hope for that. And then, of course, as usual, I always like to support or thank my channel supporters, my channel members. Thank you once again for your support. I'm going to let your names drift across the bottom of the screen because you should never go unrecognized. Thank you very much for your support. Let's see. Next week, I'll just get into about two or three more little things here before we get into tonight's guests. Next week, we're joined by UK paddler and outdoorsman. His name is Ezekiel from the YouTube channel Eze Adventures. There were 4 fellows who come over to Algonquin Park from the UK this past summer, and they did a trip. And we're going to be talking a little bit about that, and we're going to be bringing some new faces to the show. Some people that you've probably not seen, or you may have seen, but would like to learn a little bit more about. And there were a few people who were interested by the ballots that come in for the Christmas draw. So we're going to make somebody's wishes come true. So next week, Eze Adventures is going to be on the show. Let's see here. Because we were off last week, we got a couple of extra birthday wishes, but I'd like to wish happy birthdays to a past guest, Ralph Rathwolven. He was like early on here in the Canoe Hounds Outdoor Adventure Show library from Rathwolven Bushcraft. Happy birthday to him. Past guest, he was on here just recently when we were talking about gifts and stuff like that for the upcoming Christmas season, and that would be Nick Gordon. Happy birthday to you, Nick. And then a longtime channel member, a longtime subscriber, Alan Bierhoff. Happy birthday. I think Alan is in the chat. I thought I seen his name floating around there. So just happy birthday, Alan. Cheers, buddy. Now let's see if there's anything. If you have anything, anybody you know is having a birthday and you will like the announcement, just drop me an email over here at canoehound@gmail.com, and I would be more than happy to acknowledge their special day. That's always good. And once again, if you have any hot topics or somebody you'd like to see on the show, drop me an email to the same email address as well. And tonight, I don't think there's going to be a swag giveaway, but you know what? We will take a break at 8 o'clock because we're going to expand the show from one topic to kind of another. So you'll want to make sure you stick around for that. With all that being said, I'm exhausted. I'm out of breath. I need help talking on the show here. So we're going to get somebody on panel here with me to take over for the next little bit. As many of you know, I am a backcountry camper. And I also enjoy the comforts of sleeping in a hammock. A lot of people say it's not for them. Those that enjoy it to the max. It's always a good thing. Tonight we are joined. Let me get my next page here. Tonight we're joined by another avid hammock camper who enjoys the backcountry while hiking. In 2012, he successfully thru-hiked the Appalachian Trail northbound from Georgia all the way up to Maine. He's also an organizer of the largest hammock hang gathering in the United States and possibly the world, called HangCon. If that's not enough, he's also the creator of the largest hammock-only gear swap group on Facebook called the Hammock Hangers Flea Market and Trading Post. And lastly, he's the host of a newer podcast that's out there called the Hammock Hangers Podcast. Please welcome to the live stream, Paul Skunkape Collins.
Hey, Dennis. How you doing? Happy New Year.
Oh, I know. Happy New Year's to you, too. Hopefully you had a good holiday.
Oh, yeah. You cooked a lot and ate a lot.
Took a lot and ate a lot. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to put a couple extra pounds on my suspension for my hammock system, too. Yeah, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I know I covered a few things here in the intro, but let's start with the trail name Skunkape.
It's funny. Everybody always asks me about that. So I know, a lot of people when they go out to thru hike the Appalachian Trail, they wait until they get out there to, get a trail name. Some people do give themselves a trail name before they get out there. That way they don't end up with a name that they don't want. So I ended up giving myself the trail name Skunkape. It's kind of a twofold kind of name. That's why I tell everybody anyhow. So down here in Florida, that's what we call the Florida Bigfoot, is known as the Skunkape down here. Okay.
Right.
So since I'm from Florida and everything, I figured it'd be a pretty fitting name. But, if you think of a thru hiker, they're out there, they're wandering through the woods, they, stink, like there's no tomorrow after hiking and everything else. So it's kind of a twofold name. And I tell everybody that if they look up the definition of a skunk ape, that it tells you it's a hairy bipedal creature that wanders around in the woods and emits a putrid odor. So it's kind of a twofold name.
That's crazy, because did you start out as a hiker, or did you start did hiking come from being a hammock hanger?
No, actually, whenever I was younger, I used to do, a lot of camping with my friends and everything, but not a whole lot of actual hiking. My first real hiking was when I'd done the Appalachian Trail in 2012. And that's actually when I discovered hammocks. Whenever I went online to research the gear and everything else, I was actually looking for just a little one-man bivvy tent type deal, and came across the hammocks. I didn't even know there was a such thing as a camping hammock.
Mm-hmm.
The only ones that I knew about were like the woven Brazilian backyard, hammocks that anytime you try and lay in them, you end up on the ground because you flip out of them. So of course, whenever I came across the camping hammocks, it really intrigued me, and so I started doing more research on them, and that's when I came across Hammock Forums, group online, and started chatting and everything, and I ended up getting my first hammock, which was a Clark North American. Fell in love with it, and I have not used anything other than a hammock since. I don't even know that I could anymore, to be honest with you.
Same here, yeah.
The older I get, the stronger gravity, becomes, and getting down into a tent would be fine. Getting out of that thing in the morning would not work. So I pretty much just stick to the comfort and everything of a hammock.
Yeah, you know what? Up here in northern or southern Ontario, but when I go camp in northern Ontario, sometimes I've had to sleep or double up with a buddy in a tent, just because there's no place to hang, or the trees are not suitable or whatever. And I'll tell you, man, worst sleep of my life. You know what I mean? Yeah, they're tossing and turning and stuff like that, but it's not like that in a hammock. And I always say that I'll never sleep in a tent again on purpose. Right?
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, the only time that I would is if I was out wanting to thru hike a long trail, and that was my only option to be able to complete that trail. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you look behind me, you'll see I have a hammock set up here in my room.
Yeah.
I actually sleep in here more than I do in my bed now. And it's funny because when my wife and I bought this house, we went out and bought a whole new bedroom set, and I didn't sleep good, with our last bedroom set. So I was like, well, okay, we're gonna spend a little more and get one of the best Tempur-Pedic mattresses you could get, with the adjustable bed frame and everything else. It's supposed to be cool to the touch and everything. I still sleep better in my hammock.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
and it's it's hard not sleeping next to my wife a lot. I think she actually enjoys it, because I think I tend to snore and toss and turn if I'm real hot. So she gets a little better sleep too, but
yeah. Well, you know what? I always joke with my wife and say, you know what? I'm going to hang my hammock in our bedroom too. Yeah. And she goes, go for it. Right. It's like, that means I'd have to put holes in the walls and everything. And it's like, I don't know about that. Right.
Yeah. I did put, 2 anchors in, to hold it, but I do also, just in case, I have a hammock stand, from Yobo Gear.
Yeah.
I could set that thing up anywhere. And
now you're down in Florida. It seems
yes.
I've been listening to a lot of your podcasts, and you've had a number of people on that have like the manufacturers or the companies that make these hammock
yes.
stands and everything. Something I'm not really familiar with up here, on the Canadian side.
Okay.
But it's something I definitely should look into because, yeah, man, it'd be nice to have something like that in my backyard even because I got no place in my backyard.
The hammock stands? Yeah. They're great. And I know, my friend AJ, he has, a couple of different brands and stuff.
Sure.
The ones, I got two of them. Both of them are from Yobo Gear. One is a totally freestanding stand. So, I mean, I can set it up, put my hammock on it, and, if I get tired of, where it's sitting, I can just pick the whole thing up and move it and set it back down and then get right back into the hammock.
Yeah.
A few weeks ago, matter of fact, me and a couple of my other friends went camping, and they wanted to go fishing, so we went down to the ocean, and I didn't feel like renewing my fishing license, so I was like, well, I'll just go and chill out in my hammock. So I took the stand and set it up, and of course, as the sun was coming up, it kept getting my eye, so I'd get up and kind of adjust the stand and lay back down and everything else. So yeah, stand.
Funny,
stand
you just
nice.
said something that might trigger a lot of our viewers tonight to do. Hey, if you haven't already done so, check your fishing license and make sure it's not expired because mine expired at the end of the year, and I did redo it. But I always buy the 3-year fishing license up here in Ontario, and if any of you are ice fishermen, you might want to make sure you go check that out before you go out again. So, yeah. So you've through your love of hammock camping now, you started a podcast that's really starting to catch fire here, along with your Facebook group there, which is like a hammock gear flea market type of thing, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So what sort of led you in the direction of wanting to do a podcast?
Well, my podcast, the Hammock Hangers Podcast, is a part of a network. It's part of the Hiking Radio Network, which is consists of Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail, the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, the Trail Dames Podcast, and Hiking Unfiltered. Steve Adams, or Mighty Blue, he's the creator of the network and everything. He's the one that does Mighty Blue on the Appalachian Trail. So I was, I'd always listen to all of their podcasts, and there was one day I had made a new logo or something, and I posted it up, and Jester from the Jester Section Hiker Podcast reached out to me and asked me, if I designed logos and everything, and she wanted to, start doing some artwork for her podcast. And so I started working on hers and everything, and then Mighty Blue, he saw hers, and so he contacted me, and so then I started doing the artwork for all the podcast on there. Mm-hmm. And then so at the time I was just doing the artwork and everything, and then Mighty Blue had gone on vacation. He's from the UK, so he went back over there, and I think it was when he went back over there to visit and stuff. But while he was gone, I got with Jester and asked her if she could just send me some of her audio, because I wanted to try and dabble with it to see if I could do the audio editing as well. Mm-hmm. And so she sent me one of her old episodes, just to play around with, all the different tracks and everything. And so I edited it, and it was, worked out, perfect. So while he was gone, I had her send me, her next episodes, and I, edited them for her. And so when Mighty Blue got back, it was, like a surprise to him that he didn't have to, do the editing, because he was the one that done all the editing for, all the different shows. And so I figured, if I could, do it, it would, help take some stress off him and everything else. So just in the, from the editing, making the pictures and editing the shows and all that, I got really interested in, the whole podcasting thing and everything else. And there's only like one other podcast out there for hammock, camping and everything else. So, I started mentioning to Jester, talking to her about how hard it is to podcast and everything else, and told her what my idea was and everything. And so then she mentioned it to Mighty Blue, and he's like, well, he goes, if you ever want to actually start one, he goes, just, start it. And he goes, you can come on to the network. And so, I've just started, really thinking about it, and then started, playing around with like an intro and everything else, and got it going. And then, once I posted it up on social media that I was fixing to be starting one, it's, that basically committed me, to doing one.
Right.
Because, I've always been, more of a introvert type of person. So it was kind of, stepping outside my comfort zone, to, go online and talk to different people and that I didn't really know and everything else. So, it actually helped me, get past that a little bit, which I think is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I enjoy the show. When did you start this?
Well, I'm on episode 19, fixing to release episode 20 this Friday. So, Friday. 5 months?
Yeah.
5 months.
And once a week is your airtime?
Yep, every Friday. So every Friday at 3 a.m. Eastern time, a new episode drops.
That's pretty cool. So now I know you kind of have I'll call him your sidekick, because I have one too on my show all the time. Famous paddler here in Canada, Kevin Callan, is a regular on the show. But you got your buddy AJ. He's kind of on your show quite a bit there, and it's good because it brings a lot of extra knowledge to this whole community of hammock hangers, right? And how do you feel your outreach is with the show? Do you find are you starting to catch fire, or is it more generally in your area?
I keep looking at the analytics for it and everything else, and I see it growing more and more each week. So it's just getting the word out there on it and everything. Because, like I said, for the longest, it was always, just the one, that was strictly hammock, related and everything. And so, now more and more people are starting to hear, about my podcast. And I do get a lot of good feedback about it. So I feel it's going pretty good.
And like I say, because it's a genre, hammock camping is really starting to catch fire. The more people like us start talking about it, right? The more people are intrigued to want to at least give it a try, right?
Exactly.
And once you give it a try, either to be fair too, for those that are not hammock campers, if you give it a try and you don't like it the first time, you're probably doing something wrong.
Yes.
Right.
And what I've noticed, because I see it on especially Facebook all the time. A lot of people will go on there and they're like, oh, I tried hammock camping, I couldn't stand it. It was, uncomfortable and everything else. And so it's like, well, first off, let's, start, what type of setup did you have? And like, oh, I just went on Amazon and got me a setup on there. It's like, well, there's part of your problem, because a lot of those that you get on Amazon, they're only like 9-foot hammocks. And so they're more of like a lounging hammock than a camping hammock. Because the average size for a camping hammock is about 11 foot. That way, you can get more of a diagonal lay and everything else. And that's another thing that a lot of people don't know is, they'll get in a hammock and, lay straight in it and they're laying there like a banana, and most people, a lot of people I should say, don't know, that if you take and you just turn your body a little bit and lay diagonal, that you get a flatter lay.
Yeah.
But, and I know that, just like with anything, camping related or anything, it can get expensive. And I know a lot of people don't want to, go out and drop a lot of money into something if they're not sure if they're going to like it or not. So, that's why I know down here we have a lot of like group hangs and everything. I don't know if y'all have, a lot of them up that way or what, but if somebody's interested in hammock camping, look up where some of those group hangs are and, go join them, for the weekend or whatever. And most everybody, that's out there, hammock camping and everything, they love talking about their setups.
They do.
And most of them will, be glad to let you lay in their hammock and try it out and everything else. I know whenever I go to mine, I normally take, at least a couple of my different setups that I can, set up and let people try and everything else. And, once people learn the correct way and everything, a lot of them will convert from tent to hammock because of the comfort.
Which makes it more difficult for guys like us. I was telling you, I was chatting with you and AJ in the green room there about, my recent experience with hammock camping, where for the longest time I was the only guy on my canoe crew and the guys that I paddled with, where I was the only guy that hung, right? I was the only guy that used a hammock, and me and my big mouth, right? I started to tell everybody, yeah, man, like these things, you gotta try it. You gotta try it. Well, this year, our August trip, one guy brought his hammock that he off of my recommendation, he got himself a hammock, and he's hooked. Yeah. Now I got me and another guy. We got to, we're scrambling for trees, right?
Yep.
And then we did another trip, me and a few other guys, a few of my other buddies, and two of them decided that they wanted to hang, and one of the other guys decided he has a hammock as well, but he decided he was going to tent camp. But now we had to find spots for three. So all of a sudden, the issues that I used to have when I was a ground dweller, right? Yep. I now face as a hammock camper, because now I have to. It's that scramble. It's like, where's the two best trees? 15 feet apart approximately.
And I know a lot of times with me also, it's not just, particularly finding, two perfect trees to hang the hammock. I'm wanting to find, maybe the spot with the best view as well, because I think it's a lot easier to find a good, find two trees that you can hang a hammock between than to find a flat area on the ground that don't have rocks or roots or, an ant bed or anything like that. I know whenever I thru hiked the Appalachian Trail, there was at least 6 to 8 people that I know of that when they saw, my hammock set up and everything else, they would always ask me about it, and I'd let them lay in it. And, they ended up calling Clark Hammocks up and ordering one and having it sent to the next trail town up, so that they could pick it up and swap to sleeping in a hammock versus a tent. Because I would get to, one of the shelters or whatever, and, there'll be a lot of people there, and everybody's, wandering around trying to find that perfect flat spot, and some of those places it's hard because you got the rocks and everything. And I remember, just finding 2 trees that were on either side of, a couple of different big boulders, and I just hung my hammock up over the boulders, and within a couple of minutes I'm sat up and I'm cooking my food. They're starving, still trying to find a place to set up their tent before it gets too dark and everything else. So they would see me, and that's one of the things that swayed them to go to a hammock as well, not just the comfort of it.
Paul, do you have the ability to turn your volume up on your mic by any chance?
Yeah.
A few people are saying that your volume is a little low. There's nothing I can do on my end, but I don't know. How's that?
Is that better?
There, that's better. I can hear you a little better too. So, I've seen a few questions popping through the chat here that I wouldn't mind popping on. Maybe you can answer a few things. This is one that we should wait until later when AJ pops in, because you guys just did an episode on this. But this In the Woods crafting Mike here is asking tips and tricks for big people to get out of a hammock.
To get out, let's wait until AJ comes on for that one, because AJ he's lost a lot of weight now, but he was one of those larger people, which I mean he don't mind talking about. So that would be actually a better question for AJ right there.
And you guys actually have a fantastic episode on that I just finished listening.
Yeah, that was episode 10, I think. Episode 10. Yeah, hammocking for larger guys.
Yeah, by all means. Let's see here. Rhonda Barnett's asking, love the new camera. Any insights to the best ridge line?
Can we define that a little bit? I mean, are you talking like adjustable ridge line versus non-adjustable ridge line, or types of ridge lines?
She'd have to actually. I know Rhonda, and I know Dave's question. His hammock actually comes with a ridge line because he has a Hennessy hammock like mine.
Yeah.
So, and they're non-adjustable.
I use a ridge line in mine, and I have used both adjustable and non-adjustable. I do like a ridge line because it does help with setup, getting it consistent each time. Yeah. I do prefer a non-adjustable over an adjustable, just because an adjustable can, change its adjustment after, so long or whatever, and then you got to reset it.
Yeah, especially if it's a Dyneema line, right?
Correct.
You can get a little bit of slip in there. Yeah, for sure. Dave, don't worry. I'll teach you how to set that thing up. Richard West is asking, where can you rent hammocks or see if it's for you before dropping? And you kind of touched on that, eh?
Yeah. I don't know if there's any places to rent them. There might be, because I know they're starting to. I've started seeing some sites out there where you can rent, hammock or not hammock gear, but camping gear in general. They might have hammocks that you can rent as well, but like I was mentioning a minute ago, my opinion is if you can find like a group hang that you can go to, because I know they're all over down here. One of the places that you can go to find them right now, if you one of two places, either hammockforums.net, or if you go to dutchweargear.com, is it Dutchwear Gear? It's either Dutchwear Gear or dutchwear.com. He has a link on there for hammock hangs, and their location and dates and all that stuff. If you go to those, you will see all sorts of all different types of hammocks, from your gathered end to your bridge to your 90 degree. And then you'll see, all different types of suspensions and everything else. And most of those people, like I said a minute ago, will, they don't have a problem in talking your ear off about them, about their setup that they have. And they don't mind, you trying it out, laying in it and everything else.
Yeah, even if you have a buddy that perhaps is a hammock camper, you know what, for the most part, just ask us, hey, can I set that thing up in my backyard and give it a try? You know what I mean? And for the most part, unless he's a real idiot, you know what I mean? I'm sure he'd be more than happy to oblige.
Right.
I've got that's kind of how a couple of my buddies actually got into wanting to get into hammock camping as well, because I've got a couple of setups, and they asked if they could borrow one. I said, yeah, man, I got one that I rarely ever use.
Right.
And it's very similar to the one that I use on a frequent basis, the Hennessy hammock. And it's like, yeah, man, you want to give it a try? Here it is. Take it for your weekend camp, set it up, bring your tent too. right? If you're going camping, bring your tent too, so that if you don't like the hammock, you've got your tent there to sleep in too, right?
Exactly.
And the one group of guys, I think 2 or 3 of them actually tried it out, and I think 2 of them are converted. So
yeah,
at separate times they tried them out, right?
Yep.
They didn't sleep together because but, you know. So
yeah, so AJ and I, you know, we always, like, whenever we go to the different hangs and stuff like that, we generally try and take, you know, a good chunk of our gear that we have, you know, different types of hammocks and everything else. I still don't know exactly how many hammocks AJ has because he will not tell me. And I think that might be because I've asked him on the podcast a couple of times, and he might be scared that his wife is going to listen to it. I'm not really sure. But I actually counted my hammocks a couple of nights ago, and I've got 20 hammocks myself. Different ones. And then I know AJ, he has even more. So,
you know, when I stop and think about it, I may have one I use all the time, but I think I've got about 4 or 5. They're like, you know, they range from the I think you guys call them cottage hammocks, right? Or something like
Dutch wear and Wahala and
or like, you know, just the ones that, like, you know, the ones you say you flip out of. I got a couple of those, and you got the ones that are the cheapy, you know, $20 Costco type of things that you just use for relaxation, right?
Yeah, I've got some of the, you know, budget, you know, more budget friendly, you know, hammocks all the way up to, you know, some of the more expensive ones like the Clark and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You know, and depending on what type of camping or hiking I'm doing, you know, depends a lot of, you know, which hammock I take.
Sure.
You know, because I mean, like my Clark hammocks, they, you know, just the hammock weighs, I think, a little over 2 pounds, which, you know, still to me isn't unbearable, you know, because that's what I threw like the trail with, the Appalachian Trail with. But I do have, you know, one hammock that's made out of a material called Cloud 71, and the hammock is like 4.72 ounces. You know, so a big difference.
That's crazy.
Right. You know,
that is crazy. It's just a testament to the materials that they've come out with for these things now.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. So back to the Hammock podcast here, Hammock Hangers Podcast. So you said you're 19 episodes in now?
Yeah.
What are some of your more memorable ones? Some of the highlights so far of some of the shows that you've had?
Well, I remember episode 4. I'm looking over at my other screens right now, looking at all the different episodes. Episode 4, I really enjoyed that. That was a lady. Her name was Jan Walker. Mm-hmm. She actually hiked across America. She started off in California and ended up going all the way to Maryland. Mm-hmm. And what she was doing, she was raising awareness and donations for the 911 National Memorial Trail Alliance. And she done the whole time she was out there, she used actually one of the other Clark hammock models that was, which one was it? It was the Clark, was it I think of Flex 180. They had a hammock that could be set up on the ground as well if need be. So that's why she opted for that one, just in case there was, you know, some areas like through the deserts and stuff like that where she didn't have trees, she could still set it up, you know, on the ground and have it as a little bivvy tent. But so there's, you know, I really enjoyed her episode because it just intrigued me. Somebody, you know, even though I'd done the, you know, trail, she went clear across the United States. You know,
is that the one she had some real health issues she run into too along the way?
She ended up getting sick at one point, getting real bad ear infection and everything. Yeah. You know, had to go to the doctor for that and you know, take like a week or so off of hiking. But yeah, that was that episode. Okay. Of course, I really enjoyed the episode with Shug.
Who wouldn't, right? Yeah.
Shug is like a hammock legend, I remember, whenever I first started getting into hammocks and everything like that, and I was on the Hammock Forums website, he actually, answered a lot of my questions and everything else. So yeah, his episode was awesome. I really enjoyed talking with Shug.
I enjoyed that episode. Shug's been on my show a couple of times.
Yeah.
And you know what? He's that guy is a plethora of information.
Yes,
some people find him pretty quirky with the way I love.
I love him.
I love him, man.
He's a trip.
Little buddy.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, anybody that gets into the hammocks and stuff like that, first, somebody's like, oh, where can I find out about this? Where can I find out about that? It's like, go to YouTube and look up Shug.
Yeah. You know what? I've done the same thing. You got to watch this guy, man. He'll make you laugh your ass off, but at the same time, you're going to learn a lot, right?
Yes. He is a hammock legend. Of course, I love whenever I, talk to, some of the vendors and stuff like that, Yobo Gear. Who all have I talked to? I've talked to Yobo Gear. I've talked to, MCN Hammocks. That was Dan McNeil. I've talked to Haven, which is Derek Hansen, Derek Tillotson. I'm actually going to be interviewing Derek Hansen here soon. He's the one that the author of what is it? What book is that he does? It has lost me right now.
It'll come to you.
Yes. Hemlock Mountains. So, I love hearing, talking to the vendors and, hearing how they got their start, into hammocks, and then how that led into, them creating their business and everything else. And then, of course, whenever I have my episodes with AJ, and that's, I love those because him and I are such good friends that, it just kind of, the episodes just kind of flow, and everything. So,
yeah, from what I gathered there in the green room, just so everybody knows, AJ will be joining us after the 8:00 hour to talk about HangCon, which is the United States largest gathering, right? So
yes,
we won't reveal too much about that because this is really interesting. I'm looking forward to chatting about that. But so like with your podcast, what do you find is the hardest thing to do with your podcast? Is there anything that is you find rather difficult?
I guess what I would think would be, what I consider the most difficult is, since I do have it as a weekly episode, trying to, keep it to where, it's not the same thing, every week.
Right.
Which can be kind of difficult since, hammocking is like a niche, thing. And so, you can only go so far, with talking about it without repeating the same stuff over and over.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, that's what I feel is the hardest. And that's why, a lot of times I do have AJ come on, and him and I will pick, different topics, to go over and everything else. Like the, hammock camping for larger guys and, our top, what we feel is our, top, 3 or 5 pieces of gear, that changed, hammocking and, for us and everything else. We try and do the episodes to where, since there are so many new people, looking to get into hammock camping and everything, we want to try and be as informative as we possibly can to help them out. But at the same time, making it to where, it's still somewhat entertaining for, those that have been hammocking for a while now.
Yeah. Do you find that you have a hard time finding guests, or just because you guys are doing so much of it that you know?
Yeah, sometimes I do. I've got a list of people that I've talked to, and they want to do the episode, but it's finding the time for them to come on and everything else.
Right. Yeah.
So it can get a little difficult.
We need
sometimes.
Scheduling agents is what we need.
I know,
right?
Exactly.
We need PR people and scheduling agents. Yeah, that's
sure. even the episode that's coming out this Friday, I just got done recording it yesterday, and it was myself, AJ, Britt, and Jane, which all four of us are part of the HangCon crew. Mm-hmm. Well, there was two others that are part of the HangCon crew also that I wanted on there, but they had other stuff. And especially whenever, I try and get multiple people on at the same time, it becomes pretty difficult.
Yeah, getting individuals is a little easier than getting groups. I just experienced that here just before the Christmas holidays, trying to get a group of guys together, and it was like, one guy had something going on, he had this going on, he had that, and it's like, okay, you know what? So
right.
And
one of the other episodes that I have lined up, just trying to get everybody coordinated to the same, to be able to come on at the same time and everything, it'll be myself and AJ, with this podcast, the Hammock Hangers Podcast. Mm-hmm. But then the other hammock podcast that's out there is the HYOH podcast. So I'm getting the two original, podcast hosts, and then the two new podcast hosts from, the same, podcast, and then myself and AJ. So there's six of us that have to coordinate, time and everything to be able to go on.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, where can people find your podcast? Where can they gain access to it?
Okay. I should be on most all of the podcast platforms, Apple, Google, Spotify, all those, what is it? Dozer or something like that. So, there's those, the podcast platforms. I do have it to where it uploads to YouTube as well. So, they can look up the Hammock Hangers Podcast on YouTube, and, it's just the audio that they'll hear. Eventually I want to start making, review videos and stuff like that to put on there as well. Mm-hmm. But they can also go to either hikingradionetwork.com and, find my podcast on there, or they can go to our website, which is www.hangcon.com, and I have it on there as well.
Yeah, all those links are in the description of this video anyways, if anybody's looking to find access to it. It's all down there, including HangCon, and I think links to your flea market, your Facebook flea market, which is my segue into that. Tell me a little bit about, or tell everybody about that, because a lot of people might find it interesting and be able to go on there and find some gear for cheaper prices if they don't want to spend a whole pop, right?
Yeah. There's, as long as AJ don't buy it first. Yeah. I think he gets the notifications real quick. But yeah, so, whenever I really got into hammock camping and everything else, I went on Facebook, and, I'd go to, a lot of the gear swaps in there, and I just always felt like I was, sifting through, the tents and the backpacks and the trekking poles and the shoes and everything else. And it would take me forever to find just one piece of, hammock gear. Mm-hmm. So I started the Hammock Hangers Flea Market and Trading Post group on Facebook, and it is strictly for hammocks and hammock related items, like your tarps and your quilts and stuff like that. That way anybody, that's into hammock camping can go there and not have to sift through, all the other stuff that they're not really looking for. I started that group, let's see, probably about 7 or 8 years ago. And, we are already over 10,000 members on there.
Wow. Yeah.
So, I mean, I kind of started it so that, to help me out. So I didn't have to sift through stuff to be able to buy stuff. But, yeah, it's just grown and grown and grown. And, I mean, you can find some great gear on there. I've bought a couple of hammocks and quilts and stuff like that off there myself.
It's all right. Yeah. Do you find you have a lot of Canadian content within that Facebook group as well, or
there's people from all over?
Yeah.
It's the U.S., Canada, UK, Australia. I mean, everybody is in there. So.
Yeah. So you guys are you're located down Florida.
Yes.
I'm just wondering what the biggest difference between hammock camping in Florida might be versus up here in the Canadian north, right? We were talking a bit in the chat there, or in the green room about different types of trees and stuff like that. What are some of the challenges that you face down there in Florida for a hang?
The biggest challenge that we have down here is just the time that we go out and even go out to camp in general, because of how hot it can get. You definitely don't want to go out in the summertime down here. You will burn up. You will get toted off by the mosquitoes and everything else. I mean, I have done it. And it's like as soon as it starts getting dark, you start hearing the mosquitoes, coming out of the woods, and it's like, okay, I'm not really tired, but I've got to get in my hammock and just zip it up, because if not, they're just gonna eat me alive.
Yeah. Well, welcome to late May, June, and July.
Yeah. July, August, September down here, it's unbearable.
Right.
It's miserable to be out camping. I mean, even in a hammock, some of the lighter hammocks that I have, that are real good with wind, to keep you cool. Even in the summer though, you really need a underquilt or something just to keep the mosquitoes from biting through to you.
Right.
So, I mean, that's our biggest issue down here, in my opinion, anyhow.
Do you personally use a hammock with a bug net, or are you bug net free?
Most of mine, I mean, I have a couple that are just, just the hammock, netless hammock. Most of mine either have an attached bug net, or like the Franke style, or like a 360 type, that goes all the way around the hammock. A lot of times though, depending on how the weather is, if it's kind of cool outside, if I can unzip the net and go topless, I do. But yeah, here in Florida, it's better to have a net, definite.
Right.
Because I mean, unless it's really cold, which is not that often, you're going to have some sort of bug that's trying to eat you.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably wouldn't try considering going netless, because we have mosquitoes. But I almost find it, for me also, even if it's not buggy, like I do a lot of my camping in August in the north. In August, the evenings tend to get cool quick, so it knocks down the mosquitoes really quick, right? And but still, I just like that enclosure. I like it doesn't add any more protection, from any other of the elements. It's just that enclosure. You're in a room, right, type of thing. Well, and that's the thing I like about the nets, right?
Something I have noticed also, though. I mean, even like if the weather gets a little chilly or whatever, if you zip that net up, that's going to, at least add a couple of degrees, make it a couple of degrees warmer inside, even just having that netting.
Yeah, it's going to cut a bit of the wind, right?
Yeah.
Because the holes are pretty small. Yeah. Have you ever tried winter camp or winter hammock camping? Well, I guess you have winter down there too, but it's not the same winter.
We had our 2 days of it a couple of weeks ago.
And that's all North
done.
America had that,
that's
right?
all done now.
Yeah.
I have, I think the coldest that I've been out hammock camping is like the lower 20s. Nothing really extended. Maybe what was it, like 3 or 4 days or something like that. And that was actually whenever I was hiking the Appalachian Trail. But I want to get up and do some winter, hammock camping, like what Shug does in the snow and stuff like that, just to experience it and, see what it's like.
There you go, man. Just drive north and you'll be ready to my place.
That's what I need to do. Go up and get in some of those frozen butt hangs that they have up north.
Yeah. I'm not even sure. I've heard of some small hangs that happen in Ontario, but I'm not privy to them, nor I have never been to one. But I'd really like to get out to one, and especially here in the winter, because I think you and AJ, both your eyes almost popped out of your head when I said I just recently picked up a -40 underquilt.
Yeah, I can't even imagine having one that's rated for that. I mean,
I don't plan on using it at -40, but it just adds that extra comfort or that little extra protection, right? Better to have it than not to have it, so they say, right?
Exactly.
So I went all out there, and for anybody that's interested in something like that, in Ontario or in Canada, or I know of a lot of guys in the States that pick them up too. It's from Little House of Hammocks. James, he hand makes them all himself, and it's the loft on it. It's got 5 inches of loft.
Little Shop of Hammocks.
Yeah. Is that what I said?
You said little house hammocks.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure there wasn't another one that I didn't know about.
Little Shop of Hammocks. Yeah. Okay. So sorry about that, James, if you happen to be listening in tonight. But it's he does some really nice work, and I think the next thing I'll have to save for is a real top quilt as well, right? So I got to match them up type of thing. But it took me 3 years to save for this one. 3 years to save, unless I can find somebody on your hammock forum.
There's a lot of them on there. That have them.
That'd be cool.
I know that's another thing. Now that you mention it, that I see a lot of people, talk about on social media and everything. It's like top quilt or sleeping bag. It's like, well, go with the top quilt. Because I think a lot of people don't realize that when you're in a sleeping bag, the part that you're laying on is doing you no good. You're compressing that loft.
Yeah.
So, I mean, especially if you're going to go out and, do some hiking and stuff, go with a quilt, because you're cutting out all that weight that is just essentially dead weight that you're carrying, because it's doing you no good anyhow.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what? I always use my sleeping bag like a top quilt. I just sort of zip it down, leave a foot box, feet in, pull it up like a blankie, and I'm good. Because before my underquilts, I always use just a small thermarest inside my hammock, which now I've discovered underquilts are make it even that much more comfortable, right? So,
I that's all I use is an underquilt. I will not use a pad. I tried it one time and it did not work out at all.
Right.
I mean, I would turn, it would slip out from up under me and everything else. It was miserable to even try. So all I use now is underquilts.
Yeah. Well, Paul, you know what? We're at 8:00. I'm just going to acknowledge my sponsors, and then we will come back, and I'll bring you and AJ on, and we're going to talk about HangCon, something that's going on here, and we'll talk about it. We'll get all the details on that. So we'll see you right after this little commercial break.
Okay, that'll work.
If I can find the link. There we go.
There's nothing like being out there. For over 50 years, we've been connecting people with nature by building classic Canadian canoe designs using the best materials available. We built a reputation on durable, dependable canoes that allow you to focus on what's important, whether that's unplugging in remote wilderness, spending quality time with your favorite people, or nailing the perfect line. Visit novacraft.com to find the perfect canoe for you and locate your nearest authorized dealer.
Tonight's episode of Canoe Hounds Outdoor Adventure Show is brought to you by OTG Meals. Fresh, freeze-dried, small batch meals made for people on the go. Algonquin Outfitters, with 4 key locations in and around Algonquin Park to serve your backcountry needs. Kid Products, stick stoves and reflector ovens proudly made in Canada. And Novacraft Canoes, connecting you with nature in Canadian-made canoes since 1970. All right, welcome back to Canoe Hounds Outdoor Adventure Show. Tonight we are talking with Paul Skunkape Collins from the Hammock Hangers Podcast, and we're going to be bringing him back up on, and another guest, somebody that he's been speaking of here in the stream. Here's Paul, and let's welcome AJ Glenn, also known as Phoenix, which I guess is your hiking trail name as well. How you doing, AJ?
I'm doing good, Dennis. How about yourself?
Good. I thought it'd be a good idea to bring you both up to talk about this HangCon that you guys have been doing for a few years now, which is the United States' largest hammock hang gathering. Let's talk about this thing, man. It sounds really cool. Something I'd like to check out myself here in the near future.
Yeah, HangCon is an amazing event. Not only is it just cool, the community of people that come to the event is really second to none of any other community that I have ever been a part of. So HangCon actually started off as the Florida Hang probably about 15 years ago. And it just grew and grew and grew. And it got to the point around 2015, the former organizers set to rename it as HangCon. And we've been HangCon ever since. Paul and I kind of took over things about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and we've just kind of took the formula that they had and just maybe tweaked a few things, and we've really saw things grow really well for us. So
it's pretty cool. I seen I was checking out your Facebook page, and I see that this year you guys have hit 400 hangers.
Yes.
Yeah, I just checked our registrations right before I came on. We are officially at 420 people officially registered, not counting the probably 20 or so that we know that have not registered. You know who you are, people that are coming.
Yeah. You got to put a stipulation. You got to have a ticket to get in, right? So.
But yeah, HangCon is a free event. It's always been a free event. We have people come from all over the country, and we really don't want a paywall to be up there for people to not be a part of this community. So having it be a completely free event has always been one of our top priorities. And of course, yes, it is a free event that we offer free camping. We actually also provide breakfast and dinner for most of the nights of the event. We are new this year. We are going to be selling lunches for 2 of those days. But the event, unfortunately, is not free for us to put on. It costs us about $15,000 to run this event for the scale and the scope that we do. And we are able to pay that bill. And my wife continued to be married to me by not bringing home a $15,000 credit card bill. Through donations and our raffle. Our raffle is ginormous, to say the least. We had last year alone, we had 6 8-foot-long tables packed out with raffle gear for that, and ranging anywhere from items that were $5 all the way up to a hammock stand and some gear that ranged in the $800 range. So a lot of really good stuff that we raffle off, and which helps us pay for the event.
We generally have it's usually around roughly $10,000 plus worth of gear that has been donated to us from our different vendors and stuff to go into the raffle. So yeah, it's by far one of the hugest raffles that you will see at any of the hammock gatherings.
So, sorry, forgive me if I missed this. How long has this been going on, this event?
As far as HangCon has gone, it's been known as HangCon for about, I want to say since 2015.
Yes.
Right.
And before that, it was referred to as the Florida Hang. I guess the event in some capacity has been going on for about 14, 15 years.
Mm-hmm. And what sets yours apart from all the others that makes it this large? Like over 420 some odd hangers so far, because it could still grow, right?
Yeah, we still still have another week, for people to register and everything else. And usually this last week is our busiest week for registration, because everybody's, just now finding out 100% that yes, I can go, and everything else, got the time off from work and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So, but probably several different, to answer your question, several different things, in my opinion. One is probably the location. We're down here in Florida. I was looking at the weather, earlier today, and the day before HangCon starts, what is it, like the lows are in the
low 50s,
and the highs are like mid to upper 60s. So a lot of people, love that aspect of it, that they can come down and camp and not freeze but not burn up also.
Yeah, we have some friends coming out from Wisconsin that they posted a couple weeks ago where they were seeing wind chills at negative 56 degrees or negative 72 degrees, which blows my mind.
Well, we had a nasty band of weather go across the mid U.S. and lower Canada, well, all of Canada pretty much, where we got dumped on big time snow down here. So yeah.
I think another aspect that people really like about HangCon is just the size of the vendor participation that we have. What other place could you go and physically talk to the person that's going to be sewing your gear, and sit down, have a meal with them, and really talk with them on a personal level?
Right.
I know that was always a blast for me, to meet some of the maybe YouTube personalities that you've seen so much about, or some of the big vendors that you're like, oh, there's Dutch, or something along those lines. Mm-hmm. We also providing food is also another really big thing. Me and Paul go to a few other of the larger hangs throughout the country. Palmetto State Hangers, they do a couple hangs a year that we try to go to. Maha, which is in Pennsylvania, Trailheads, which is in Ohio. A lot of those are larger size hangs, and they may do a meal or two, but we provide meals for, I want to say, 4 days of the event, and breakfast and dinner. Yeah,
dinner from Thursday night to breakfast Monday morning.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? Like, what are we talking for breakfast? Like, here's a bag of oatmeal, or we talking bacon, eggs?
We eat.
We eat good.
So for example, every single day we'll have our HangCon cheesy bacon grits. Every morning we'll have some variety of crock pot oatmeal. We do one morning where we do breakfast casseroles. We do a biscuits and gravy one morning.
Do like a scrambled egg.
Monday, which is usually our smallest morning, our cook actually does eggs to order or bacon to order, and so he'll cook it as you want it. So.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot. That's a lot of cracking eggs there. It's almost like going to an all-inclusive resort there, and being the egg cook at the breakfast buffet.
And then our dinners, I'll just go over like the largest dinner, which is Saturday night, which is our biggest night. What is it? We have, I normally smoke, this year it's going to be probably like 250 pounds of pulled pork. We're going to have really cheesy, like, look at cardiac arrest, mac and cheese, baked beans, and what we call our HangCon slaw, which is and I always get this wrong. I always call it a ranch, but it's a blue cheese coleslaw.
Yeah.
And then we always have Dutch oven cobblers as well that we do. So we have
I've seen pictures of some guy working some magic with a couple Dutch ovens and stuff like that. And so I imagine that's it. You know what? I'm leaving now. See you guys.
Come on down.
Do I need to really register? I'm just coming down for the food, man. I gotta leave my hammock. So all that food obviously comes out of the $15,000 or part of that $15,000 budget that you're talking about, eh? So I guess the doing the raffles and stuff like that is something that really helps offset, right?
Yes,
it is the thing that helps offset.
Yeah, right. Wow.
Yeah, we have people. We always we start selling in September raffle tickets, and we do like a early bird special. To where, from, what is it, AJ, from September to Halloween, that's right. September to Halloween, you get like 7 tickets for $20. And then November 1st to December 31st, you get 6 for $20. And then after that, like right now, it's going to be 5 for $20. And I mean, we have people that they'll buy some, at the early bird, and they'll buy some at the early bird, and then they buy some, online, like now, and then once they get to the event, they'll buy more. And it's like their strategy, because they don't want all consecutive numbers. Okay. And then, also once they get to the event and we start laying everything out on the table and they start seeing, all the quilts and the complete hammock setups and the yobo stands and the tensa stands, and I mean just all this gear, a lot of them will buy even more tickets.
You know what? I'm making plans. I'm coming down next January.
Excellent. We'd love to have you.
You have any Canadians down there? Have you known of any?
I don't know.
Okay, I'm gonna have to start this. Who wants to go in the chat? Let's go.
Yeah, I don't know that we have.
Come on down.
we have people from how many states do we have registered right now, AJ?
So we have 30 of our 50 states represented by our registrants.
Nice.
Yep. And I mean, we do have, I know a couple of our vendors. Last year we had. Who was it, AJ? It was Cedar Trail Outdoors, which is a Canadian company up there, and he makes a what is it? He calls it a 3-point multi-tool. So it's basically a trowel with a hammer and a pick and everything else on it that you take with you. I've actually got one. Pretty neat. But we also have Husk Hammocks, which is a UK-based hammock company. So, we have all of our American vendors, plus we're starting to, get vendors and stuff from other countries and everything else. We would love for Little Shop of Hammocks to come down and, spend one of the events with us and set up a booth and everything else.
He does make some really amazing gear.
He does. Like I say, I'm really proud to finally have an underquilt made by him. I was loaned one from actually somebody that's in the chat here. Brian J lent me one of his underquilts that he got from Little Shop of Hammocks, and it's like, wow, man, the build quality is really, really nice. So I finally got mine. It's like I'm checking the thing out, and like stitch lines are straight, and this thing is like this, and he gives you the stuff bag for it, and he also gives you a storage bag, so you maintain your loft and everything. And nice material. You get your choice of materials, which I know is really big in the hammock, especially in your culture down south there. In the USA, they kind of, everybody likes their stuff custom, right? So, yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about. I don't have any custom gear at all.
Yeah. AJ's like, what color do I want today? And
I cannot confirm nor deny that assumption.
So logistically, how you're saying you got over 400 people registered?
Yes.
How do you accommodate 400 people in a camp? Is this like a huge campground with like 1 million trees around? Because, or are a lot of people just using stands?
Well, our campground is a good sized campground. It is a private campground, so we don't have a lot of the regulations and things that you would find at a state park or a national forest.
Right.
We have our main area, which is going to be kind of close to the action. It does have a bathhouse with showers. And there's a slew of people that can fit in the main area, but they also have a primitive section that goes back, acres and acres of land that people can go back into there and find sites a little bit further away from the commotion that can be HangCon. Usually we tell people that if you are coming later Thursday or early on Friday, you're probably going to be in the primitive section unless you have a stand. So we encourage people to come early if you're able. We have a blast all the nights. But if you're looking for a spot close to the action, you want to get there Thursday.
Right. Okay, good to know. Notes taken. Well,
if you've got a stand, you can kind of choose your own adventure of where you set up, and you have a lot more leeway.
Mm-hmm. So when people start coming in, do you find people do they kind of migrate into groups, and do you find there's groups, or is everything like here's like is it like a young kid soccer team where they're all chasing the ball around? Is it like one of those deals where everybody kind of hangs together for the most part?
I think it's a little bit of both. When I look at our registrations, over half of our registrations, this is their first HangCon. This may also be their first hang that they've ever gone to. So that's always really cool. Just kind of people jumping in head first. Both me and Paul are we like to refer to ourselves as outgoing introverts. But we just kind of jump head first into this. We'll just be, shut in introverts for the rest of the year. But for this 1 week, we appear extroverted. You get people that come that have been there for numerous years that have connected with a group of people that they may try to hike together or hang together, or people that have come from the same area. But it really is a collection of really everybody. And by the end of the weekend, it's like a big family.
Everybody's family anyhow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We always make sure to have a huge community fire also, for everybody to hang out at night and chit chat and, tell stories and everything else, which I think the community fire is a good thing that we have there. Because, a lot of people will go and just hang out by it and get to know each other and, meet new friends.
It doesn't help that one of our vendors is Sugarland Shine out of Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And they bring, let's just say, a plethora of mason jars with lots of delicious libations in them. And so it really helps those campfire stories get it a little bit colorful.
Is there a place to get ice for our beer or what? That's
oh yeah, absolutely.
That's really important right there, man. Just endless supply of ice for our beer, right? So typically, what does a day hold at HangCon? You start with your breakfast that you're serving. What goes on from there? You have seminars, or is it just basically social gathering?
It's a little bit of everything, and that's something that we have, provided in the last couple of years. We do want to offer a lot of classes and demonstrations because a lot of our hangers are new to hangs or new to hammocks. So we do offer some classes. I'm going to be doing a ridgeline demonstration, and I'm specifically referencing a tarp ridgeline, not a hammock ridgeline. We also do demonstrations on tarp setups. Different hammock vendors are set up, showing off their gear, showing up the difference between down and synthetic insulation. I'm going to be doing a hammock suspension demonstration. We also do a reflective pot cozy class for something that you can come and make and take home and remember your HangCon fondly. But it's also a really cool event in that it's probably the only event that you'll ever go to where we really also encourage laziness. So if you want to take a nap, we strongly encourage you to take a nap.
Be like Shug, the king of lollygag, eh?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, if I could say one bad thing, I guess, from me being a HangCon attendee versus being one of the organizers is I don't get a lot of those naps as I would, as much as when I just came as a participant. But yeah, it's a little bit of everything. We also offer some guided hikes on the Florida Trail or some of the other local trails. We also offer guided paddles. We have a lot of natural springs down here that the paddling is really popular. It's not too far from Crystal River, which is where I'm actually at right now. And we have this time of year the largest collection of manatees in the world because they come to Crystal River because of the springs to get out of the colder weather in the Atlantic. So people come and see them. They swim with the manatees. Because another cool thing about our natural springs is the water stays 72 degrees all year round. So that gives the opportunity to, even if it's 52 degrees outside, you can get in the springs and it's going to feel like a jacuzzi at this point. But.
So you're saying me as a canoeer should be bringing my canoe with me?
Yeah, you
absolutely.
Yep.
Oh, this is getting better and better, boys.
Absolutely.
you might see me next week.
Excellent.
That is cool. So where does this take place? What's the name of the park? And where is it located in Florida, like geographically?
It's pretty much dead center of the state. Slightly west, but the town is town of Brooksville. Mm-hmm. The park used to be called Sertoma. It's now Florida Sands Music.
Music Camp, I believe.
Sands Music Festival or something like that. Music. They just have changed the name of it, but yeah, it's pretty much just about an hour north of Tampa.
Okay. Yeah, probably about 45 minutes.
45
minutes to an hour from Tampa. About an hour and a half-ish, depending on where you're flying into from Orlando. So
you're saying I could bring my wife down and the grandkids, and I could ship them off to Disney.
Yeah.
There
you go.
And see you buy them the 4-day pass, and I could have my 4-day pass. Right?
Absolutely.
Oh, this is
he's already got a plan
going.
Can you guys see the wheels turning right now? Or no, you know what? I've never been to a hang of any sort other than what I do in the campsites when I go camping, and to me it sounds like a pretty the culture of it sounds pretty cool because you have you guys are both are you both hikers as well?
I'm a hiker. He calls himself a wandering napper.
Wandering napper. Okay, I think I heard that.
I will hike a good little bit with the intent of taking a nap.
Right.
Am I going to pump out 15, 20 miles in a day? That's a negative. However, 5 miles to take a nap, yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah,
it's not too steep. Where
I was going with that is okay, you've got hikers that are hammock campers, you've got canoeists that are hammock campers, and then you have hammock campers that are hammock campers. To them, that is the outdoor sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? We have whether it's car camping or backcountry or slightly off road or whatever. You could be overlanding in a vehicle or whatever, but their main priority is it's like somebody that's these guys are doing up their vans now as campers, right? Yeah. Camper vans. So there's that culture, right? But the whole hammock camping culture is really taken off as well.
Yeah, we actually had a large group of motorcycle campers that joined us last year, and I think a lot of them are coming back this year. We have a lot of bike packers that come as well. That's more kind of my feel. I do more a little bit bike packing than I do necessarily hiking. But yeah, lots of different type of camping experiences, but under the same veil of hammock camping and just that whole community feel.
Sure. Now, what type of people are attending these things? Are you getting families, or is it typically singles, or is it like
a little bit of both? And we have single people registering. We have whole families registering. We have actually in the past, and I think a lot of them come back each year. We've had some families that they use HangCon as their family vacation, which is, one reason why, AJ and I, have talked about it. And as long as we can, we want to make sure that it stays a free event, because, going to Disney or Epcot or somewhere like that can cost a fortune. Mm-hmm. And, if you have, like a family that's, you got your mother and your father and then, 3 or 4 kids, that's going to be expensive to, come down from another state or whatever, go to Disney and all that. And I mean, you're looking at a couple of grand easily,
mm-hmm.
And so, they've come up to us and, thanked us for, putting on the event and, having it to where it's free, because they come down, bring the kids and everything, and they spend the whole weekend, and all it's cost them is the gas to get down here. But yet they have a blast while there, and, the kids enjoy it, and the parents enjoy it, because, the kids are the playground and stuff there, so that the kids will run off and, play with other kids, make new friends. The parents get to, just, kick back and chill and relax and everything. So as long as we can keep it a free event, it will continue to be a free event. Mm-hmm. And I think the only thing that would, change that is if there was ever a time that, we went into the black and, we had to, start forking out, a lot of the money out of our pockets. So, I mean, that's where the, our vendors and all that, love them to death. All the people that make a monetary donation, it's really all them that keep this hang going the way that it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think one of the things that has changed in the past, I want to say 5 years or so, we're getting a lot more families coming in to the event. Not only parents with kids, which we're getting a lot more kids. We are a family-friendly event. We also get like spouses that come. Last year, we had a mother-daughter pair from, I want to say, Ohio, that she wanted to come to HangCon as her graduation present.
Oh, wow.
So they took a trip and they came down and they had a blast.
That was last year, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I think there was somebody else that came down. The daughter or son won. It was his birthday, and that's what he wanted to do, is come down to Florida for HangCon. So him and his family came down and spent the weekend with us.
That's cool. And you mentioned now there's a large amount of women as well. In the respect that, like, you had one of your guests on your show, Nanny Skids. Is that?
Yes. That's Heather Beck. That's Heather Beck.
Okay.
She's one of the organizers of Palmetto State Hangers.
Okay.
Group hangs. Yep.
So you have all walks of life. You have just a good mix of people, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Good chemistry going on, right?
Yep.
So,
like I said, it's just something different. Like I can't put my finger on it. It's just something different about the community at HangCon, or just the hammock community in itself. It's really all walks of life are on an even playing field, and we just have a blast. We really, really do.
Cool. Now you mentioned you have a lot of businesses, and I seen that little shop of hammocks is in the chat there. These guys want you to go down there and be
yes, we want you here.
We want you to come down and set up and hang out with us.
There you go. See, we're all about making the connection here, right? But who are some of your vendors? Who can people expect to see when they?
Oh God, we got here. I got my list over here.
We could go through a whole hour just listening.
We have there's. Let me get comfortable here. We got 62 supporting partners. So I'll try and go through fairly quick. We have R&R Hammocks, Loco Libre Gear, Cedar Ridge Outdoors, Sugarlands Shine, Walhalla Hammocks and Outdoors, Jacks Are Better, Dutchware Gear, Dream Hammock, Trailheads, Ridge Outdoor, Hammock Gear, UGQ, Bat Stoves, Tree Hugger Tees, Simply Light Designs, Fire and Ice Outdoors, 803 Outpost, Autumn Outdoor Gear, Squish Brick, Yobo Gear, ULA, Nama Gear, Haven, Hemlock Mountain, Peak Refuel, Zen Bivy, Hummingbird Hammocks, Lecky, Sawyer, Farm Defeat, Cedar Trail Gear, Tents Outdoors, Two Speed Hammocks, Arctic Pines, Light AF, Sea Knock Outdoors, Evergreen Adventure Foods, Ripstop by the Roll, Hangin' High Hammocks, Packet Gourmet, Superior Gear, Adventure Hammock Systems, Boondock Properties, Husk Hammocks, Warbonic Outdoors, MCN Hammocks, One Wind, Teton Hammocks, Enlightened Equipment, Cave Creek Hammocks, Bear Butt, Epic Water Filters, Mr. Mox, Firebelly Jelly, The Ultimate Hang, which is the Derek's book, Suncoast Outdoors, which is the group that does the guided hike down here.
Yeah.
Of course, the Will McLean Foundation, which is the new owners of the park that we hold the event at. The Florida Trail Association, and then the Hiking Radio Network itself.
That's crazy. That is like the who's who of the hammock society. Like,
yeah, I mean, we
right there, man. Like there's not many that aren't on that list, really.
No, there's really not. And I mean, each year it has just grown, because I think when AJ and I took it over, there was 10, maybe 12 on there,
something like that. And I mean, we have companies now that are reaching out to us, wanting to donate gear for the raffle, and or send a monetary donation, or whatever, to help support the hammock community and the event. Mm-hmm. And something else that I want to mention also is a lot of your big expo events and stuff like that, like the Overland Expo and stuff, you have all these companies that will go there and they set up a booth. Now, they are charged X amount per day to set up, said booth and show their gear and everything else. Mm-hmm. We don't charge any of our vendors a fee to come and set up. The only thing that we do ask is, since, our raffle is our biggest, means of, funding the event, we ask that they make a donation to our raffle in the amount of what it would cost for, a booth to be set up, which is, I'm sure we're still, I don't even think we, consider that as much as what the expo places do actually, charge. Yeah. So, I mean, most of our vendors, they will, donate roughly about $250 worth of gear. Yeah.
So, and
and it's a win-win for all the people that are going, basically.
Correct.
Right. That's a great attract in itself. Yeah.
Right. The vendors, they get to set up, they have their gear for sale, And, they get to meet, new people, people get to meet them, they get to sell their gear and everything else. And, their donation helps us, them being there, with the amount of people that we have helps them. I mean, we've had some vendors, they've come up to us and, just mentioned, how much they made. There's a couple of the vendors last year that they easily sold, $10,000, $12,000 worth of, equipment, while there. And so, when we have vendors coming clear across the country, there's got to be something right going on.
Sure. You know what? Based on that list of vendors that you said and what you just said that they sold that much gear, I don't know if I can come. I don't know if I can afford to come. Well, man, yeah, like I said at the top of the show, there, I'm a bit of a gearhead myself, so I'd be coming home. Mind you, the American Canadian dollar thing might slow me down.
We also have.
Don't forget, our dollar's only worth 12 cents American, right? So that's.
We have several vendors also that will use HangCon to debut new product that they sell as well.
Sure.
We have 3 that we know of vendors this year, which I'm not, I'm not going to mention the names because they want to keep it, secret until HangCon. But there's 3 vendors that are going to be debuting 3 new pieces of gear while there.
Some really, really cool pieces of gear.
Yeah. I mean, they've already made 2 sales that I know of and haven't even released it.
And you don't
yet.
even know what it is yet, right? No, that's awesome, man. It sounds like you guys put a lot of work into it, and it shows by, obviously your attendance. For the vendors, is there like a vendors area type of thing, or are they like mixed in amongst all the
we have areas. In the past, we've had like one area, but with the amount of vendors that we actually have coming this year to set up, we've had to spread that out. So we do have, a couple of vendor areas that, are designated. I think in the past, there have been a couple of the vendors that they set up at their area as well. But for the most part, there's designated areas.
Yeah,
and our vendors are
stands
pretty
and a
much,
table, and you're good, right?
Yeah.
Our vendors are also set up pretty much all weekend. We do kind of designate Saturday as like the vendor day, but they're really set up, mainly Friday and Saturday, and some even stay on through Sunday as well. So plenty of time for you to come in and check out the vendors. We also have Paul's Facebook group. We do a garage sale as well. So if you have used gear that you want to bring or, trade with some other people, it's really a great opportunity to offload some of your old gear, pick up some new gear. So that credit card bill next month won't be as hard hit. As it would on the
you guys thought of it all, right? You thought of it all. No, that's awesome. And what about people coming in? Can people come in for a day? Like, do you get a lot of people just come in to see what's going on type of thing and then split?
Yep. We'll have people come in usually on Saturday is our big day. Also, Saturday night being our raffle. We encourage people, if you can come out for the week, that's great. If you can only come out for a day, that's fine too. We just want you to be a part of our community.
Right. Mm-hmm. And with as funny as this sounds, I know, we're sitting here talking about hammocks and all that. We don't discriminate against tent campers as well, because we know that, like we was talking about earlier, a lot of ground dwellers, being hammock curious. So they will come and, they don't have a hammock yet. So they bring their tent, they set up and everything else. We will try and convert them, and so that is a warning.
Feel the pressure, people.
They usually don't take a whole lot of persuasion, though.
Right. And for those that are bringing families and things like that, we do have a limited number of campsites that we will rent out to RVs as well. Like for example, my wife, I have not converted her yet. She's still very much a camper S camper, but she's coming to help out. So we're setting up our pop-up for her and my mother-in-law. Yeah, I mean, we have to charge a small fee, but it's only like $45 a day for camping, and that's what the campground charges us. So
right, that's for the use of the utilities.
Yeah, and honestly, like even if you have no gear, if you don't even own a hammock, the amount of extra gear that people bring that are so willing to let other people use is great. So even if you come down with literally nothing, we can easily get you outfitted for the weekend and just let you try out the wonders that is a hammock hang.
Right.
There you go. That's awesome. Yeah.
I see the question there at the bottom. So yes, there is we do have a website. The website is www.hangcon. That's HANGCON.com.
And you can also find us on Facebook as well.
Facebook and Instagram, correct?
Yeah. All the links to all their socials are in the description of this live stream. So if anybody wants to check that out, by all means, please do so. Before we call it quits for the evening, guys, AJ, we had somebody asking earlier in the chat, and Paul thought it would be best that you answer that.
Yeah.
And I believe the question was, any advice for a larger person how to get out of a hammock?
It's not pretty. It's not graceful, but I can speak to it. As I was listening to earlier, and as a former, I guess, big guy, a little bit. I was hammock camping up until I think at most I weighed, I want to say close to 440, 450. I was hammock camping at that point. So don't let size deter you from getting outdoors. In fact, if it wasn't for hammock camping, I wouldn't be outdoors as much as I am. As far as getting out of a hammock, most big guys, we use our gathered ends. There's a few exceptions to that, but I would always hang my hammock just a little bit higher. So when I am on the edge of it, my toes are touching, but I'm not fully flat-footed because it takes a lot of work to pick up that weight from lower to the ground. But getting in and leaning forward and putting most of your weight on your feet can really help you stand up a lot better. If that's not exactly an option sometimes, I will find that getting your feet on the ground and then just kind of walking backwards and backing yourself into your hammock so it kind of cradles you like a sling, gives you just enough support that you can kind of, pick up, use the back of the hammock as kind of a wall to kind of lift yourself up on. Another thing that I would do with some of my hammock is I would replace the ridge line. A lot of cottage vendors, they will just use like a Zingit line, which is a 1.75 millimeter line. I would go ahead and I would replace that with a 1/8 inch am steel, and shoot, I would just go up and grab the ridge line and pull myself up with that. Even at my highest weight, I knew I wasn't going to break a line rated for 2,600 pounds. So that's definitely an option. You can even I've seen kind of like almost like a handle that they have done with a lark's head up on the ridge line with like a prusik loop that they can kind of adjust, and they can use that as a handle to kind of lift yourself up as well.
So. I could use that. I could use that. Jeez. No, you know what? Whoever asked that question, I can't remember who it was. Sorry. But they do have an episode on the Hammock Hangers podcast that deals with this. Which episode is that, Paul?
Episode 10, I think it was.
Okay. It's definitely a good listen. One thing I like about your live or your podcasts is they're not long and drawn out. You just like a lot of the good podcasts nowadays, you kind of get to the point, right? So that's you take care of business, as they say. That's awesome.
You might have to shuffle through some salty banter between us every once in a while, but other than that,
well, you got to have some spice, right? Eating a steak without any spice on it sometimes is the best thing. You gotta spice it up a bit, but yeah, for sure. Well, you know what, guys? Thank you very much for joining tonight. I really enjoy your podcast.
Appreciate it.
I think now. I think next January might be a good possibility that I might have a couple buddies. I know my buddy Dave in the chat said he's in. So you know what?
Well, the hang is always during the week of Martin Luther King.
Okay.
So Martin Luther King is always on that Monday. It's always the Thursday before to that Monday.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah.
So
you know
around
what?
the
It sounds like a cool
second
thing.
weekend in January.
Something
You never
like
know.
that,
Maybe
yeah.
I get a posse coming on down there. We could come hang our Canadian flag up there, and
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
We'd love it.
You guys can all walk by and say A. We don't all say that, eh? So.
Yeah, I mean, another thing, like you guys have Canadian bacon. Well, we have a tradition that we kind of stole from the Palmetto State Hangers. We call it midnight bacon. And I mean, midnight bacon. It's always midnight somewhere. So midnight bacon, maybe 9 p.m.
People will bring flat tops. People will bring flat tops and just randomly start cooking bacon and just start handing it out.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's a good thing to do for winter camping in the Canadian North, right? Because before you go to bed in the frigid cold weather, like I say, minus 40 bag, right? To have meat with a high fat content inside your body burning like a furnace is good to keep the innards warm while you're sleeping, right? So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And who doesn't love bacon?
I know. We're just Americans. We just like fatty meat.
There you go. As long as it's not spam, we're okay. Yes. Well, you know what? Like I said, gentlemen, thanks for joining. To everybody in the chat, you can find all the links to their social media information on the Hammock Campers Podcast, HangCon, and the Facebook marketplace that they have put together for the hammock gear. And I think there was something else too. Your website, right? So
yeah.
Website, all that stuff. You can find all that there. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to these guys as well. I'm sure they're more than happy to share any information that they can with you.
Absolutely.
All righty. I'm going to drop you fellas into the basement. Don't go away. And I'm just going to close up tonight's show. And we'll continue on with maybe a cocktail or two in the green room.
All right.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, gents. See you in a
Bye,
moment.
everybody.
All right. Hopefully everybody enjoyed tonight's show. You know what? These guys, two stand-up guys that really enjoy sharing their information. If you do get into listening to the Hammock Hangers podcast, make sure you check out, for anybody that's a fan of Shug, check out the episode with Shug and a number of other good episodes that they have. You might learn something. I know I have been. I've been hammock camping for many, many years, and I really enjoy it. But I'm always learning something, and it seems like every time I go camping and I start hanging my hammock, I think of something new or something different to do to the setup that's just going to make it that little bit more easy. And you know what? We're always learning. We're always learning, right? With that being said, I'd like to thank everybody for joining tonight. If you enjoyed the show, please do hit that thumbs up. Really helps us get recognized in the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already done so, please hit the subscribe button and leave us a comment. Drop to the bottom if you have any questions that you'd like me to put forward to tonight's guests. I'd be more than happy to do that. Or if you have a comment about a future show, please do include that. Just as a reminder, next week we have Ezekiel from the YouTube channel Eze Adventures, a little bit of UK content for you. So please do tune in next week. We'll be at it at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. In the meantime, thanks very much for tuning in. This is Dennis, also known as Canoe Hound for Canoe Hound's Outdoor Adventure Show, saying, remember, keep the adventures alive. Have a great week, everybody.